Hello guys, LukeJ speaking. Welcome to Book Reviews, episode 25. And today we'll be reading you Bob Barker, Priceless Memories, chapter 3, the book called Priceless Memories. Now before I get to read chapter 3 to you all, we have to celebrate we gotta celebrate the episode of them all. Today is the 25th episode celebration of what have become LukeJ62895's book reviews on YouTube. So in order to celebrate this LukeJ62895's book reviews 25th episode celebration, we're just going to have cake in this episode. But in this episode, we're going to have time for Pringles, pizza, and then we'll read this book, chapter 3 per se. So here we go. I'm gonna read this, and then we'll get to the book, shall we? So we got. This may be a huge thing when it comes to finished touches, okay? Okay, so here we go. I think I got a new subscriber when it comes to these book reviews. Mm. giving these Pringles a 10 out of 10 overall. Now, without further ado, soothe it on this dry hands. Be right back, okay? Okay, now that I have my dry hands, because I'm getting ready to start editing a box book, because I've already done that while I was eating this. First thing we're going to do is read chapter 3 of the book, and then we'll end off for the rest of the week of book reviews until Thanksgiving week. So here we go. Or something like that, I don't know. Okay, anyway. I don't know how long the book's going to take for chapter 3, but... Let's see. There we go. Okay, there we go. Okay. Chapter 3. Contestants and celebrities I met. Okay? Here we go. While I always loved the contestants on The Price is Right, I always say that that took my fair share of physical punishment from them over the years. I've been stepped on, kicked, pitched, squeezed, bear hugged, and manhandled by all kinds of excited contestants and prize winners, okay? There were plenty of kisses to be sure, but I also remember many black and blue moments. There are no way to prepare or defend yourself from the contestants, excuse me, I misspoke, but anyway, gone wild. I remember the painful time I broke a couple of toes. Oh, God, help me. I was living up in the set and The Price is Right, and instead of it, although I thought it was funny. Everybody thinks broken toes are funny. No, it's not, except people, let me turn the page, okay, who have broken their toes where it happened. I was walking barefoot in my house. Ugh. I hooked my little toe on a piece of furniture, really banging hard, and broke the toe. Jesus. Anyway, and when I went to the doctor, and there isn't much the medical profession can do for the broken toe. So you can't just tap it. Excuse me. Okay, I dropped the whatever that thing is. Okay. Okay, there is a bookmark. There we go. Got this. Anyway. Move on. I went to the doctor, but there isn't much the medical profession can do for a broken toe, but you just can't just tap it up. And I agree with that. But anyway. A few weeks later, when I was finally healing, I was at home, adjusting the clock in the breakfast room. The clock fell off the wall and broke another toe on the same foot was the first broken toe. Okay. I couldn't believe it. I called the doctor and said I just broken another toe. He kept telling me that I couldn't have broken another toe. He said, "Hey, sure, are you that, is it broken?" Makes sense to me, but anyway. I said, "It's pointing in the direction at the right angle to my foot. It's broken, there's no doubt about it." He told me to go over to the hospital emergency room, and they did what he did the last time. They put it back in place, tap it up, sent me on my way. Okay. Scott had the studio to do Price is Right with one just healed broken toe and one nearly broken toe. One of the first contestants was a woman who looked like trouble as she came up the stairs of the stage. I mean, she was excited beyond reason. She was coming up the stairs like a charging animal. I think to myself how much pain I can stand. The contestants always stood on my right, and I said to each one, especially this lady, just please be careful. I have not one, but two broken toes in my right foot. Oh, I wouldn't hurt you, Bob, she said. I will never hurt you. Great, big time. She wanted a car and then she went crazy. Jumping all over the stage, of course, she stopped at my toe. Pain and instant agony. But Ian can stand a lot of pain, but I'm a part sucks. I'm not SIUUOUX. Not any cuss words that I'm not going to say in the video. But anyway. One time I had a woman who was about 5 feet, 4 inches tall, she lost control after winning, got underneath my chin. It keeps jumping up and down. I ended there several teeth jarring, uppercuts into my chin, bam, 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 before I broke free. It was one of the most painful experiences I remember. Another woman threw her arms around me, then jumped around up and down, and hit me above the eye with her hand. She really did a number of mine. It really had been a fight. The referee would have stopped it for headbutting. One woman paused on her way up to the stage. Just got in the crowd, excuse me, misspoke anyway, and then rammed me. I mean, she really rammed me, right in the solar plexus. I'm not gonna say the PLEXES word. Sorry, US word. Excuse me. Sorry. With her head, no explanation. Others would stand beside me and pinch my arm. But time after time, saying I'm so nervous. Okay? I'm so nervous. Just standing in line of fire. I received plenty of welts and bruises, believe me. Some women seem to be have an essence word, sorry. Harm me. It has become a running joke in the show. I just got a lot of fabulous mail about how the Somalian woman loved me. But how I will tell you how it got started. We have a lady in Somalia for the Priceless as a contestant. And she got so excited when she wanted a car. Then she picked me up. I mean, she really hosted me. Just like I was a little boy. She wasn't tall, but she was strong and straight. She was strong and straight, but she gave me a squeeze, so that way I can hardly breathe, but I can smile and bravely through my pain. About a year later, another woman from Somalia was a contestant, on the show. Sure enough, she won a car immediately. This woman picked me up and threw me around like a little boy at a picnic. The audience loved it, of course, and I got cared a lot. I received tons of mail about how Sabian woman really went to me for me. Then about another year later, See, another Serbian woman contestant came on down contestant's row to play for this chance to come up in the Priceless stage. I was a little worried on the Serbian. I hope that's this word. Excuse me. Starvation by now. Excuse me, I misspoke. But anyway, I stopped and said, I've been having a problem with Serbian woman pick me up and throw me up all over the stage. I would just swear that if you get me up in here and on the stage win something, you were not gonna pick me up. Yeah, it just bits and pieces agree with Bob, but we'll just see what happens. She said, I'll swear I will not. So how you pronounce his name, her name, excuse me. And behold, she won her way up on stage. She won a car, and she picked me up higher than even the other woman had and tossed me around. I said I could never go to Somalia. My feet will never touch the sand. Yeah, I have to agree with that. I did have a few of my knockouts. However, I mentioned the reunion show we did on the Truth or Consequences with the Italian woman with her American sister. We fainted twice. I have a few women fainted on the Priceless right as well. I remember just stepping over to one of them and saying, "Give me another contestant, please." I'm kidding. And want to do a thing like that. I always like having fun with contestants on Prize. I would never put them down, but I joke around with them and try to have fun. But when you introduced the wheel to the show, people were nervous about spinning it, which I saw Wick Martindale's YouTube channel, bits and pieces. But anyway, anyone who's familiar with the show has been furious about spinning the wheel, but they were so nervous about on television, and they have a chance of all the prizes and the money, and the audience was cheering and applauding. But it could be a little strange for contestants, so it would not be so surprising that people would be spinning the wheel. It can make it fall down. They may fall backward, forward, whatever. There was one lady who wanted to go on the wheel. She pulled down the wheel, hold on. She shot under the wheel onto her stomach. And at one time I heard about in the news in 2007, Drew Carey broke her arm on the set of The Price is Right, across the hall, and ended up in The Young and the Restless. They thought she was an extra and paid her scale. At times, when I have told that story, people have asked me, did that really happen? I have to confess, no, it was another hallucination, how to pronounce this word, okay? The prize became more and more popular than many categories of viewers. One of the biggest fan base was the college crowd. Eventually, we have groups of college kids with a studio audience, with probably every taping, sometimes 3 or 4 of them. And one of the new things that gained momentum, have announced it, and pretty soon the show was a cult favorite of campuses around the country. Kids would come out in spring break from all over. Instead of going to Miami and Palm Springs, to come out to see The Price is Right, which I saw at my grandma's house. If you watch this in heaven, Grandma, it's for you. The college student interest started years ago when a group of 2 showed up, and I thought, this is good. So I introduced them, and I asked them what school they were from, and what fraternity or dorm, and I had to agree. And I told him thanks for making the trip, and that we were glad to have him on the audience. And next page, and that caught on. Kids said that they were scheduled their classes around The Price is Right. Then they watched the show on the dorm television, and then recreation rooms with the big crowds. Okay. The college students were wonderful audience members and excellent contestants. They brought so many energy to the show. Many of them had been watching the show, so they were very young. They know the games very well. They asked great questions, and they loved the show. The University of California at Santa Barbara undoubtedly have more kids, and it spits all over the book. Okay, page. Okay, moving on. Undoubtedly have more kids on our show over the years than any other group. They came down to see us the year. So often I joke about them. That were kids in the UCSB who were majoring The Price is Right. All of the college students were majoring The Price is Right. All the college students knew the show went well. Excuse me, I misspoke. Sorry. I misspoke a line. Sorry. They know me. They truly wanted me, my heart. Excuse me, I misspoke. Anyway. Sometimes I ask the college students what they were studying, and they might have say something like combinations. I asked, what do you want to do? And some of them said, I want to do what you do. I like to be a MG, I pronounced this word, sorry. Or really, I said, well, here's a microphone. I asked them to describe for everyone what we were doing, and then I let them take the mic. Some of them were remarkably good, others should change their major. On The Price is Right, you have to be 18 years old to be in the audience. And I have to agree with Bob, and I have to agree with Alex in this point. Yeah. But on Truth or Consequences, we have children on the show. Little kids can be marvelous contestants. Art literature had a lot of success working with children. He even worked a book called Kids Say the Darted Spanks, which I haven't read yet in part of book reviews, but Darted Spanks, it shouldn't say the D word in the video. That's just me. And they do. And it will talk, a child will go on to get labs, and if a little girl or a boy will talk in a natural way with you, and you can get labs with him or her, you will get in the wrong business. Yeah. I figured I had 3 or 4 children on Truth. If you have to say to the first child, what you would like to say, like, best always eat, and he says, I don't know, get away from him. He's going to answer, I don't know. It's almost everything you ask. He can ruin all the other kids. I agree with that, big time. And they can find out, they can stop copped out by saying, I don't know. They'll do it. If you ask them who controls the money in their family, the mother or father, and he says, my mother does. That they go on with him. You will go a place to go, he says, I don't know. Go on the next kid until you find out who talks. Kids can surprise you. One time I selected a young mother and her 5-year-old son in the audience. Backstage, they were separated long enough for the mother to come on stage, where I explained Well, I was going to give her a chance to win some money. How much would I depend upon her son? I told her that I was going to ask her son how much she would pay for various items of his clothing. And we would give her whatever he says. I gravely told our audience that were writers who had sons who had presided that she would be lucky to win $1.35. Then I asked to have our 5-year-old guest to join us. Ali bounded. I have chosen him for the audience because of his confident. Okay. Cheerful and ongoing personality. Okay. And he didn't disappoint me. He was all smiles, waving at the audience, and embarrassing himself in the monitor, okay? Excuse my misspell, but anyway. I knelt down beside him and managed to get his attention. I told him I got some questions to ask him. Okay, he answered. Next page. Anyway. How much did your mother pay the jacket? I mean, see in the next page real quick, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, damn, I got it. How much does your mother pay for your jacket you're wearing, I asked. $1,000, he shouted. Okay. The audience exploded into laughter and they didn't stop. It was one of the biggest laughs ever. And I agree with that. Big time. Anyway. His mother picked up a little hero and smothered him with kisses, and the audience continued to laugh. It was Sandry that finally restored surgery with me to be heard. I said I have no more questions. People have often hollered at me how contestants have changed over the years. Okay. They have changed chemistry and appearance. By that I mean years ago, most of the people in the audience would be reasonably well dressed. Well, they were going to a television show and they wanted to look nice. I'm thinking now mainly of Truth or Consequences. But even on Price, I have contestants wearing a suit or a sports coat. I have many well-dressed ladies and gentlemen in nice wears and shirts. Later on, I still have some well-dressed people, but I also began to see casually dressed people. I have people in shorts and the t-shirt and sandals and no socks. Excuse me, I misspoke. But anyway. There was people in jeans and tank tops. Then, of course, we have the long hair doing a hippie, which is me, of course, nowadays. Period. There was times that I would point over to someone in the audience and say, "What about this girl?" And a man would stand up with the long hair and said, "What do you mean, girl?" Okay? And that makes no sense to me, but anyway. Now, of course, in the last few years of Prize, I have contestants with pursed nose and ears, and even pursed tongues. When I have first started on TLRC, there wasn't a pierced tongue in the entire country. Yeah. So always the contestants deliver a change in that respect, but I don't find that they have changed a great deal so far and having an interesting, amusing combination with them. Excuse my misspoke, but anyway. I worked with the audience in the 50s on Truth or Consequences, and I worked with them on 2007 on Prize. LHBM here, that is. Anyway, I was able to create a fun atmosphere in the same way I did all those decades before we always had a cross section on all kinds of people on the show. Okay, so as appeal with wholesome but widespread audience and contestants that reflected that throughout the years. It was, I think it's a tribute to people and their basic good taste. Okay. Price is always a more consistent show. We have games in place, but the basic structure of concepts and the audience knew what to expect. We didn't get straight. I cannot pronounce this word. Sorry. We were always fine tuning and new and different games in the mix, but truth is the very nature. Was more a freewheeling on a predictable show, and things are going wrong more often. For example, one year we have a national contest. Excuse me, I misspoke. But anyway, involving college football. In those days, the big year-end games were the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and Orange Bowl. The contest was to pick the winners of the scores in those 4 games. The person who became the nearest the right winners and scores will win $10,000. Wow, okay. This is a lot of money in those days, and we're live. Excuse me, I misspoke, but anyway. People were sent in the partitions, and went through all the entries, the winner after the games. The day arrived when time to pay off, and the producer was ill. So Bill, next page, okay. Brooke was the head writer, had the job of tackling the file entries and picking the winner. So don't ask me how it all happened. It was from so many years ago. I agree with that 100%. But anyway. But yeah, I've always had a short time in the name of the winner from the final entries. He came in the name of the winner. I called the winner at home and congratulated him or her and said, your $10,000 check will be on the way. It's a big prize and a big deal. And everybody in the audience was cheering and celebrating when I spoke to the winner on the phone. When I came off the stage, Brooke was sitting there with his head in his hands. I said, what's the matter? I gave you the wrong name. He admitted he gave mixed. I was trying to figure out in the last moment, and he gave me the wrong name. Yeah. Now we have a staff meeting. What we're gonna do? Someone suggested, why would you, Bob, to call a person? We will give it to by mistake and tell him you're sorry that it wasn't a mistake, and maybe he won't get $10,000, but he will send him a refrigerator. Okay. Bob's not gonna do that. I said, Bob's giving people prizes, but Bob didn't take prizes back. No. Yeah. But Ralph Edwards saved the day in his own way. He said we'll give the mistake winner $10,000, and we'll give the real winner $10,000. Agree with that. But Bill's error cost Ralph $10,000. That was just an example of what kinds of things that could happen on True for Consequences. And it's also a fine example of Ralph Edwards' good judgment. It's jury, how to pronounce his word, sorry. Anyway, we always had a great prize in our shows. We first started True for Consequences. Excuse me, I misspoke, but anyway. We gave away cars occasionally, and in those days, a brand new car was a really big deal. Later on The Price is Right, we would give away whole living room sets, dining room sets, travel vacations, and state-of-the-art appliances, and offered at least 2 cars in every show. Wow. our ratings were so good that they're covered by advertisers and Priceless donors. We were limiting up to the place prizes in the show and the subject of cars. We eventually made a decision on prize to give away only American manufactured cars on the show. Roger Dobkovich, having that's his last name, the producer of the show, and I were sitting under my dressing room in the early 80s, talking about all sorts of things, okay? And we're going to talk about how the American automobile manufacturers were having a tough time. The foreign cars were doing so more and more basic business in the States. So we decided to get sure into helping out the U.S. manufacturers and support of our automobile industry and dominantly having us support. Excuse me, but anyway. We want to give away only American cars. I called Mark Guzman and suggested a change. He liked the idea, and we made the change right away. Some years later, after Mark Guzman died, there was an executive at Price who thought it would be a good idea to start give away frozen cars as well in the show. You will have more varied the show to give away, and they will be easier to get, he said. No, I'm thinking it's a good idea, I replied. I prefer to stay with what he was doing. A little time passed. He continued to push for the idea. I think he sent me literature and explained that some of the fortune cars were being built in the United States. And after he called, next page, okay, me a few more times, I continued to stand firm and said, no, let's stick with what we were doing. Okay. Finally, Roger Dobkovich came in one day, said he'd been getting calls and executive suggested we start giving away frozen cars. Then I have an idea. I picked up the phone and called the West Coast branch of the United Automobile Cult Workers. The UAW got a top man. Believe it or not, which is Ripley's thing, by the way. Believe it or not, his name was Bruce Lee. Oh, man. That was, yeah, whatever. I thought this is probably, I need help. Bruce Lee is a man that I want to get. I said that we're giving away American man cars and the price is right. Oh, yeah. UAW Bruce Lee. Okay, not the thing. That's just me. That's just a good thing. But anyway. I said we're giving away American-made cars and price. And we're giving pressure to add furniture-made automobiles. I explained the situation to him. And I gave him the executive's name. And I asked him if he would give the gentleman a call. And let him know that he strongly supported the idea about featuring only American-made cars and price. Mr. Lee said he'd be happy to talk to him and would let me know how the conversation went. Within an hour, Mr. Lee called me back and said I have another long talk with this fellow, and I don't think he was going to be bothering you anymore. But if he does, you can call me again and everything else. But anyway, never had heard of that executive again. And Price is still giving away American cars. I cannot begin the list of celebrities that will have on the show I hosted, especially True for Consequences, by the way. But we definitely had many legendary entertainers and superstars. Sometimes celebrities made brief guest appearances on perform, and sometimes there were purposes in games and pranks, okay? Certainly celebrities were always widely popular with the audience, okay? It was a privilege and it was a pleasure to meet so many of Hollywood giants, okay? As well as the sports heroes, record holders, and various high achievers in short fields. So we were always in the business of giving laughs. We have more than our share of comedians on True Consequences, okay? Not surprisingly, they were constantly funny and quick on their feet. I'm thinking of people like Bob Hope. He was a class act, a marvelous man. We have him on the show. In fact, one time, and I had the same age as Bob Hope. His name was Jimmy Spliner. He was a well-known, well-respected Hollywood figure. I figured that was good enough for Bob Hope. He was good enough for me. He was, excuse me, I misspoke, but anyway. He was one who signed me the certification True Consequences. That was a very political deal for all of us. We have Roman and Martin on several times then when they first starting out and when they were hilarious. They went out to perform in clubs all over the United States, and they let us know when they would come back into their own town, but because they loved the national television exposure. Yeah, I agree. If we put together Consequences in where they would feature and have them on frequently, okay? One time Dan Roman played a surgeon, okay? We have an operating room set, and Dick Martin, who is his assistant. His nurse, you can imagine how he assisted. He dropped the scalpel, then pick up and wipe it on his coat, okay? Makes total sense now, okay? They give it to Dan Rowan. The tested his patient. Rowan examined him, and he said, "We have," and he made it up in a long medical term that no one could pronounce. Then Rowan asks, "Have you ever had it before?" And of course, he thought the guy was going to say no. The guy said yes. Okay? At this point, you might think of the whole joke was blown. But there would be pregnant pause. And then Martin says, "Well, you got it again." We have a lot of fun with them. They wanted to be very successful. We have them on first. We have Joe Rivers, the late Joe Rivers. I talk about it, which I'll talk about in Life of Elton Such Club series, which is coming up very shortly. But anyway, on a lot. She was doing clubs in those days, and she was great. She was funny, very fun. I misspoke, but anyway. And everybody loved her. We have Tony Bennett on the show every day, or in his career, excuse me. That used to say we have Tony Bennett on Truth before he hadn't been in South San Francisco. We have Wayne Newton on when we were just starting. He was just a boy, and he was just working with his brothers. They were all musicians. Wow, okay. When he was doing True Consequences on the radio, Ralph Edwards came up to a great idea, okay? Would you get the town name after the show? And after several cities expressed their interest, so the town in New Mexico that have been called Hot Springs, okay? It's became True Consequences, New Mexico. Now that's a good idea, and that would be great enough. Anyway, and we went down every year for a fiesta. Yeah, if you watch Sesame Street, this is for you. But anyway, I took lots in Hollywood celebrities because the people down there would love it. We took Wayne Newton down there one year. Nobody knew him in those days, but he was a hit in the Fiesta show. Okay, he could play every instrument you put in the hands. Okay, his hands. Excuse me. But anyway, it was a pro then. It was a pro ever since. we took Jane Mansfield, how to pronounce his last name, excuse me, to the Fiesta one year, and she was lovely. Her husband Mickey Harkaday, how to pronounce his last name, excuse me, misspelled, but anyway, came down as well. He was a great looking guy, a bodybuilder. They made a beautiful couple. What impressed me most about Jane Mansfield was that she had her daughter Martha with her, and she was such an attentive, loving mother. Wow. She may have spent a lot of time being a grammar girl. She was a great mother as well. I remember we have Jack Price on Truth in 1953. Okay? It wasn't long that after it had been a big hit. Okay, I had the hiccup, excuse me. It wasn't long after he had the big hit and him nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar as Jack Wilson, the villain in the movie Shane. Okay? He was such a great such a great villain. After the show, Bailey and I went to Brown Derby and had a drink with him. He was soft-spoken, very gentle. Years later, I remember watching him on the television Academy Awards, and he started everyone by doing one-arm push-ups. I sat there and said, "Go, Jack, go." And we have Bobby drawing on the show in 1958. We have right after the release of the Splish Splash movie, his first $1 million selling hit. The kids in the audience went crazy. Wow. Okay. Some of the stars is excuse me, I pronounce this word, excuse me. Repudiations for being difficult. Okay. But when they come in the show, they were absolutely charming. We have Robert Mitchum on Truth. When he was right at the peak of his career, I was warned that he could be the problem. But it was a perfect gentleman. He could not have been nicer or kinder. Okay. He was a great, fun-looking guy. Of course, he impressed everyone on the show with his sense of humor. Okay. Chairman, okay, was another excellent guest. In addition to a professional basketball stardom, he was a splendid volleyball player, and for a while he coached the All-Pro team for the Cosplayers in San Diego. I remember when I interviewed him, I was talking his navel. He was so tall, very amazing. I was quite impressed with him. It came across as very bright, very distinguished, and distinguished, excuse me, Mr. But anyway. But it was quite talkative, excuse me, and very outgoing. A great conversation, generous. But that's his word, sorry. I never have Cary Grant on the show, but I have his security as a guest, along with some securities and the other famous people. She said Mr. Grant had asked me to complain with you on your next page. Okay, moving on. How many pages we got left? Okay, good. We got a few more pages left. Okay. Clothes. I thought the people were all I would like to have compliment me on my compliment me on the clothes. My clothes. Cary Grant's the man. I agree 100%. Later, I did have the pleasure to meet him. One of the writers on Truth. Milt Watson established the Magic Castle, a popular magic club and restaurant in Hollywood. Cary Grant was also interested in magic. Wow. I cannot pronounce this word. Sorry. Yeah, I impressed from the annual Academy of Magical Arts. Okay. Award banquet in the Beverly Worcester Hotel for 20 years. I did it every year for Melt, mainly because I did it for free. It was supposed to be a non-profit organization, and they were charging $20 per bowl of chili. Wow. Mill and his brother Bill ran the organization. Okay. I used to get to laugh by saying it's a real pleasure for me to be back in again this year doing the Academy of Magical Arts. Okay. Awards banquet for the Lawson brothers, Jesse and Frank. Okay, that's just good enough. One year I was doing the Magic Award show, and Cary Grant, I misspoke on the person's last name or the episode, sorry. Who's going to be the presenter. He did arrive more before I had to go on stage, but I did go in my introduction with him for him, okay? And there he was. I came on and did his bit as a presenter, and after the show, I was out for a foyer with Darby Joe, his wife, and Irene Ron, wife of Charlie Ron, the associate producer and announcer for Trooper, for all these years. We call her Shrimp, and everyone called her Shrimp. Shrimp was only one of Darby Joe's best friends. I went up looking for Melt to say good night. I walked into the room. There was Cary Grant over the corner, surrounded by people and cameras and newspapers reporters. He looked over at the crowd and shouted over at me, okay? Hey, Bob. He came over and started chatting with me and telling me how well he thought I had done as much as I can do. As I can now see that E word, sorry, of the Magic Awards. The competition was going to be so well that I can have nerve to say my wife and a friend are out in the foyer. Can I bring them to meet you? He said, Bob, we're gonna meet them. So we went out, and Darby Joe was seated on the little love seat with Shrimp next to her, and came up behind with Cary Grant and said, honey, look who's coming to say hello. Darby Joe turned around first and said, oh my goodness. Then Shrimp turned around and looked at the Cary and said, it is what it is. Okay? Cary was already charming. He made it as evening as to remember. A year later, there was a big dinner before the show, a banquet, and I was a table with some guests in the giant ballroom in the Beverly Worcester. Okay, Cary Grant comes walking in, and of course, every eye in the house is on him. And what did he do? He walked right over to my table and said hello to me. I stood up and said, good evening, Cary. And we talked for a few minutes. He knew that every eye in the ballroom was on him. I'm thinking about, he walked to my table and chatted with me for a few minutes and allowed me to share the attention. He was a kind and thoughtful gentleman. I'll tell you all about another very smooth star who was also great as comedy, and that was, she's good. I can't pronounce his first name. Romaro, okay? C. Romaro. That's all I'll say in the episode, okay? We have him on the guest on True for Consequences. He loved comedy, especially slapstick. He was a suave, well-deserved Latin lover type, but he was also always up for any other kinds of gags we did. He came on the show, sat around with all of us, and talked before rehearsal, but he really seemed to enjoy himself. Last 2 pages, moving on, and then we're gonna wrap things up, okay? And yeah, always said, oh, that's great, let's do it. One time we were going to do to fake a hot seat with him, electricity charged hot seat. Wow, okay. I'm gonna ask whatever he could fake it like he could really jolt, and he said, "Just watch me." When he did, he came flying out of his seat. He have won an Academy Award. He has a great guess. Speaking of Latin lovers, Julia Iglesias, how to pronounce his last name. Okay. Was another star with who I have good fortune of working. One year when I was hosting the Miss Universe pageant in New York, Julio sang on the pageant, and he and I ended up staying in the same hotel. And it turned out our suites were the side and by side. Okay, we both had balconies. I finally met a band who had wanted to be a tan as much as I did. Okay. Okay, that makes sense now. Moving on from there. I thought, okay. Every day before we went to rehearsal, we have enough time to get out there and get sun for a while. As the day wore on and the sun moved, we were moved closer and closer to the railing, and eventually we were leaning up over backwards off this thick balcony railings and talking to each other. We lie there hanging over the edge of the balcony saying, "What do you think of so and so, Julio?" And yes, that's right, Bob. I wonder if he's still in the tan and it was them. Or does he have many skin cancers as I have? He was such a romantic singer. He was a really great, good guy. He has a lot of fun. And I agree with that, Bob. But anyway, I'll talk about some people in the industry who have great influence on my career and on my life. People like Rob Edwards, Mark Guzman, my agent, so Leon. But there's another fellow I've worked with for 35 plus years, and he's a good friend of mine for this day. That would be Roger Dormes. And the University of San Francisco, Roger wrote the theses with his master's degree in the combinations of game shows. He sent it to Mark Guzman, and Mark was so impressed that he was hired Roger to work on Price as a production assistant. Yeah. Over the years, Roger worked his way on over the top, on the way up to become the producer of the show. As an adult, he never done anything except work on Price. He knows Price inside and out. He knows every little nature on every game. Okay, he's the most creative person on the show. He developed more games than everyone else. Our original executive producer was Frank Wayne, and when Frank Wayne died, I became executive producer, which I mentioned in last episode, okay? But I never have been able to become host and executive producer if I have not been have Roger working with me. He's a fine producer and friend. The Price Right set many records with Roger for record ratings and for prizes, and I'm naturally proud of the show's many accomplishments. And over the years, CBS did many nice things for me, and that made me eventually happy with the celebration of our 5,000 show. CBS named Studio 333 the Bob Barker Studio. I did 35 years and prize in that same CBS studio. So many entertainment legends that people I adore and work with, perform and produce shows in Studio 43. dedicated the show there. Jack Benny, Ed Sullivan, and Red Skeleton had the shows there. Carol Burnett and Mary Tyler Moore produced their programs in that studio. And Elvis Presley sang on television for the first time there. But CBS still named the Bob Barker Studio, and that means a lot to me. And it's also a tribute to much of the show. The Price is Right really took on the life on the soul. It became more than a television show. It became a piece of America. It became Ghana. And that was Chapter 4. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I think about Chapter 3. What I think about Chapter 3. It was the Marvel to wrap things up to celebrate 25 episodes of book reviews. I think it's the best way to end 25 episodes of book reviews. I just want to say this is the best way to celebrate. Yeah. Number one, I think 2023 will be the best part, the worst part about CBS Studio 33, and that is they're going to torn the studio. Because I don't want to have that to happen. So excuse me, yeah. So yeah, I want this to get this out of the way. So yeah, just want to let you know about that. And what more importantly, it's going to be exciting. So, about what's going to happen next to CBS TV television city in Hollywood. So yeah. But anyways guys, that wraps this special 25th episode celebration of book reviews on my main channel. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be Chapter 4 of Priceless Memories. Till next time, this is Joseph by Peace of Baby. Get more videos, guys, be soon. Till then, just out. See ya.